Neiko,
Yep.
I wanted to bring you on here today to talk about your life, to talk about some of your experiences, your goals, things that you've gone through, and what you're working towards currently.
Yep.
If you just wanted to give us a brief rundown of who you are, what your values are,
Yep.
and maybe just a few facts about yourself, just to break the ice.
Yeah, for sure. For the people that don't know who I am, my name's Neiko. I'm 19 years old. I'm from, Wenatchee, Washington. And a little backstory about me is when I was 2 years old, I was ran over by a lawnmower. And with that, I had to get my left foot amputated. Also, my right calf's a little messed up. And then to repair my left foot, they actually had to take out my right lat and, do some scientific, I don't even know, medical stuff. It's amazing to me that they could even do that. But yeah, that's a little bit about my backstory. I grew up playing sports. I did baseball, football, basketball, wrestling, all you could think of. Pretty athletically inclined kid. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My backstory is pretty simple. I just had that tragic accident, and I am who I am today.
So with that injury, you said something about them taking a part of your lat muscle.
Yeah. Yep.
What does that affect your lat today at all?
100%. Yep.
How so?
So basically, I have a bottom part of my lat. That's the only lat that I actually have. But they actually took out, the big majority of the muscle. And so what, when you think of like lat pull down, it's tough because, you're using both your arms. And you'll see whenever I do like a lat pull down to the 6th or 8th rep, that's where like, you'll see my left arm be fully contracted, but my right arm giving out.
So it's like a noticeable difference 100%. While you're working out.
Yep. It affects a lot of stuff, deadlift, bench, back, all sorts of stuff. But I try to, isolate it, try to use maybe single arm lat pull down or something in that sense to mainly work my left lat without compromising to try to hit it till failure.
Gotcha. So do you, when you're doing that, do you have to like focus a lot more on that lat specifically just to like make sure they're both evened out?
Yep. So yeah, that's the troublesome. They'll never be evened out just because the lack of not having that right one. But I definitely do try to focus on balancing as much as I can for what I have.
Did you when that accident happened, do you remember anything from it?
No.
Or were you just at that age where you kind of just don't even remember?
Yep, that's a blessing too. Is I don't remember anything, and the organization that I'm actually with now. So another little backstory. When I was younger, I used to go to these kids camps. These kids camps would consist of other kids all across the country, basically with similar disabilities or maybe something a little different. And me being from a small town, Wenatchee, Washington, as it's very small, not a lot of diversity. I was the only kid growing up with the certain disability that I had. So it was kind of cool to go experience with other, individuals around the country that had similar disabilities, and it made me feel like home. So now, full circle moment, I'm actually one of the mentors for those people, for kids that are growing up, kind of similar situation, and I'm able to be there for them.
Do you have a specific like memory from traveling around or doing anything like that? That was like something that stood out specifically, or someone maybe who made an impact on you, or just something like that?
Yep. So the Never Say Never Foundation and Nick Stillwell, they invited me out to a thing called Pirate Camp. And Pirate Camp, is down in Florida, and they kind of do a theme where it's like, whole pirate, pirates usually have an amputated leg or something, with a little leg. So they kind of did a theme about that. And little did I know, me being young, I thought it was just a fun time, going out, hanging out in Florida, going out to the beach. But at the very end, they ended up giving my first running blade, which actually led into me being able to do the sports at the level that I was able to do it.
Just what to clarify, what is a running blade?
Okay, yeah. So most prosthetics, they're very stiff, very, straight-legged, straight down, don't have a lot of springing to them. And so a running blade adds that little curvature, adds that flexion, so when you're able to run, you have that, kind of mocking, kind of like a calf or something like that. So it kind of mocks it, and it just makes running a lot easier.
Is that like, I'm guessing it absorbs a lot of like the spring or the torque that your leg would normally do?
Yep, exactly.
Have you ever tried running in something that wasn't?
Yeah, so and growing up, I had it was like almost like a plaster kind of leg. It wasn't anything like carbon fiber or what I have now. it was very stiff, very straightforward, and just to get me by, just to walk around, you know. So that was running on that was a lot harder than running on a blade when I had that, you know, flexion and able to move a lot better.
Yeah. Is that so? What do you have now?
So now it's kind of a hybrid, right? So this little curvature that you see right here, that's the kind of blade part. But if I were to just have a regular walking leg, that would just get me by. This would not be curved. This would just go straight down. So it would have a lot less flexion, and, you know, a lot more just stiffness.
And you're able to do that for like everything pretty much now, or
yeah, pretty much.
Is there still like specialized ones? Like, is there ever anything you would want to like switch to in the future? Like maybe like some higher quality one. I really don't know how this works.
So there's actually a lot of different prosthetics. You know, one being there's actually one where you have to charge it or else it won't work, and that's for people, you know, mainly people above the knee that don't have that knee flexion, and that is like a battery powered like knee. So every time you swing your leg out, it will like help guide it. Those are stupid expensive, like 80 grand, 90 grand. They're insane. And
your accident, it happened below the knee?
Below the knee, yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so like when I say most of the time I'll be like, you know, if I were just to do a TikTok video, I'd be like, hey, come squat with me with a guy with one leg. I just do that very broad. But I actually still have most of my leg. I just am missing like my ankle and my foot and like my heel in that sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're doing any of these like athletics or working out, do you ever feel pain?
No pain. No.
So it's completely gone.
Yep.
So I've heard of something called the phantom limb syndrome.
Yep.
And so you've never felt anything like that, or felt like there's still like a full leg there or nothing?
No, and that's all just from conscious memory, right? So like, you know, if I were to remember how my left leg would feel like, I would totally have that. You know, everybody that has a conscious memory on how their limb felt before an accident, they go through that a lot. And there's things called mirror therapy that they have to go through, or maybe like I've actually heard stories of people like actually like punching it to like remind
remind like
your
they're
mind.
actually like punching their injury.
Yep, because they have to remind themselves that they don't have that. You know, it's not there, so they have to wake up their nerves again and be like, hey, this is what we got.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
pretty
crazy.
Intense. Yep.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
No, me neither.
That's wild. How old did you say you were when it happened?
2 years old.
2.
Yep.
God, that's very blessed in that sense.
100%,
that didn't happen later in life, because I feel like that's a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
2 years old, it's like one of those things where it's like it's obviously terrible, but you're not going to remember it at all. So, do you obviously you don't remember, but based off like the stories that you've been told, what exactly happened? What was the breakdown of that scenario, and like how did your family react when it happened?
Yeah, so basically my grandpa, he would always, you know, take us on a ride on a riding lawnmower, but he would never cut the grass. He would always, you know, just take us on a little loop. We had a good sized yard, so he was able to just, you know, drive around in a loop a couple times, and we would have fun because we're moving on something, you know. And you know, growing up, we would always have to like, you know, ask for permission to get off. Like we would have to be like, hey, you know, like tap him on the shoulder, like, hey, I want to get off, and he would stop it, park it, and whatever. But this time, since we were doing so good, every time we would follow the rules. He decided to cut the grass to try to multitask, do two things at once. And then that actual time that I did, he ended up, you know, turning on the blades, and me being who I am, ended up getting off without his permission. So he didn't know that I was getting off. And so from what I was told, he was about to go over a bed of rocks, and, you know, he ended up like putting it in reverse right as I was getting it off, because I thought he was just stopping.
So were you sitting behind him then?
Yeah.
At this time? Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, we had like a little platform behind so we could sit on and like kind of like look behind us while he's doing it. And so he put it in park, then put it in reverse. And when I thought he was putting it in park, I must have thought, hey, it's time to get off. So I ended up getting off, and then as he was reversing, he backed over top of me. The blades were still spinning, and so all my mother heard. She was sleeping at the time, and all my mother heard was just cries, you know, just of the whole thing happening. And unfortunately, my sister was also on the back watching that whole thing happen. So if I were to feel bad for anybody, it's mainly my sister and my mom and people that actually watched the event happen.
And then I'm guessing you were just rushed to the hospital after that.
And so you know, again, we're in a small town, so I actually had to be medevaced to Bay Harbor, Harborview Hospital, and they had to do an emergency surgery there, because at the time I lost a lot of my blood.
Oh, yeah.
Almost all my blood. And my parents were told that it's unlikely that I would even survive, and none of them were able to ride in the helicopter with me. So my dad packed up all of his stuff and was rushing over with my uncle Jeff also, and they rushed over to Harborview, and basically we're just praying.
Do you know how long that initial recovery period was, or how many surgeries there might have been, and how long it was to be able to get back to a point where you were on a healthy path to be like a normal childhood again?
Yeah. So originally after the whole reconstructive surgery and all the surgeries I had, it was a total of 19 surgeries over the span of 9 months. So I was in the hospital for 9 months, just basically doing pretty much most of the time there. I was doing strictly surgeries and checking my vitals, make sure I was all good. And then after those surgeries, initial surgeries were all good, where I was able to start to he's gonna be okay. They started talking about prosthetics, and then they started talking about me walking on it and just stuff like that. So if I had to kind of guess, the whole time I was in the hospital was 9 months, but initial recovery and me being back on my walking and learning how to walk again, probably a whole probably 16 months.
Well, at 2 years old, you don't even really know how to, you're
exactly.
just learning how to walk. So it's I can't imagine being that young in your development and then having that happen, and then trying to relearn something that you just learned. And having it be 3 times, 5 times, however many times harder because you're missing a part of your body. So I can't imagine how that would have been. Do you have an earliest memory of anything? Okay, what's is there any time during childhood where you specifically remember or realize that you were different than other people?
Yeah, and it's actually funny because it's one of my funniest stories that I tell a lot of people is so growing up in elementary school, I was the only kid like that, and me being who I am, my personality and just what I inherited from my father, I was always a jokester, and the prosthetic that I had at the time, you needed an Allen wrench to tighten up the ankle part. And so over time it'd get loose, and so I would actually have to be that special person that would have to leave class if my foot was loose, and I would have to go to the gym teacher and he would have to tighten it up. So that's when I kind of knew I was okay, I'm a little different. No other guy or no other kid has to tighten up their foot, after a long day of playing soccer, so that's kind of the only really memory I have. And I would always mess with my teachers too, just growing up. Me and my friend Jace, we were in 2nd grade in elementary school, and we had a sub that day, and I was wearing jeans, and she had no recollection of me or my disability or anything. So, it ended up coming loose, and I ended up just messing with her, just kind of twirling my ankle around. And it was a whole scene, but then I got sent, got tightened up. So yeah, that's the only real memory I have when I noticed I was hey, I'm a little different.
Yeah. Well, that's good, because obviously you don't want to be put in a position to where you're constantly thinking this is bad, or I'm different, and basically being put in a position where you just don't feel comfortable, I guess. So that's definitely a good thing that you never had that sort of feeling. I guess. What would you say was childhood and early teen development with family? How were they supportive? How were they with everything that you wanted to do, your goals, your ambitions, your athletics? How big of an impact did they have during your early childhood?
Yeah, so just want to go touch back. My dad initially in a news report after the whole thing happened, he kind of just said hey, I don't even know if my son will be able to play sports. And then he followed up by saying, who knows, he might surprise us all. So we always had hope, and my parents always had hope, and everyone around me always had hope. And, a father always wants to see their kid go play sports and stuff like that. So growing up, my dad didn't treat me like I was, a special case to be treated with, or he didn't treat me like, I need extra attention. He always just told me hey, you are who you are. You have no excuse. Don't ever allow this to push you back or make you feel like you're less than other people because you can do anything you put your mind to, pretty much. And so he instilled that mentality, and same with my mom. They both were super supportive in that fact of, hey, you know, if you want to be athletic, you want to be, you know, whatever you wanted to be, like, you have every right to. Like, you don't have your disability wasn't, you know, it doesn't play a factor in my athletic ability at all.
Yeah, especially from your dad too, just because he has that MMA background. So he's obviously very competitive, and he probably loved seeing you play sports growing up.
Yep.
With him doing MMA, do you ever remember training for that, or do you currently train for MMA, or have you in the past?
Yeah, so I've always, you know, thrown, you know, focus mitts with him just because he loves it. I love it too because he's always instilled it in me. But he actually did own a gym back in the day, and I actually do remember growing up and, you know, always going to that gym and always just being around it. So naturally, you know, I was always interested in it. And there's videos of me, you know, when I was super young, just punching the bag, you know, as much as I can. So I was at one point, you know, training, I guess, for MMA, but I never really took it competitively. But when it came to wrestling, that was kind of the furthest I went with MMA. I started at such a young age. First year I ever wrestled, I placed second in state. So it's probably pretty cool from my dad's perspective to see, you know, his kid that might not be able to play sports excelling in a sport that he took part in.
Did you play or do wrestling throughout high school too?
Yeah. Yep. So I did that. I didn't do it my freshman and my sophomore year just because of whole COVID, and they had you wear a mask, and, you know, I was just like, you know, I'm not really touching that. Yeah, I'm not touching that. So I ended up picking it up my junior and my senior year, and did pretty well. I mean, I definitely wish I kind of would have stuck it out through COVID, but you know, it is what it is. I had a lot of fun, you know, doing it when I was doing it.
What is something that wrestling taught you during that time?
That having one leg is an advantage. Like, dude, being so low when it comes to it, like lower than others when it comes to like the plane. It was, you know, that was one thing that I picked up on.
Did you wear your prosthetic during wrestling, or how does that work?
Nope. So I'm actually one of the few people that is able to walk on their nub or stump, some may say. Most amputees have millions of nerve endings at the bottom. So when they touch their nub on anything, it hurts like crazy. But I think that also plays a part in the reconstruction of my lat. Like when they took out my lat and wrapped it around my leg, that helped a lot because now I'm not stepping on my nerve endings. I'm stepping on, you know, my lat. Gotcha. So I had a wrestling leg, you know, I had stuff that was constructed just for wrestling, and I was able to, you know, be on my nub the whole time.
That's I can't imagine wrestling someone who is on a prosthetic. I feel like accidentally getting hit by that or something.
That would injure someone.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, because those things are pretty solid.
They would cut. Yeah, it would just, if I was to wrestle with it, it would rip through people's skin and just it would be a bloodbath. Like,
I'm surprised that there's no. I mean, I feel like they probably can't do that because there's probably not enough people with your type of disability. But I was gonna say I'm surprised that there's not a specific league or something for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's probably just not enough competition.
No, and I mean, the one person that, you know, I kind of looked up to when it came to wrestling was Anthony Richardson. I don't know if you heard of him. He was like that. I forget where he went to college, but he was a college wrestler with one leg, and he was a NCAA champion at one point, and he was insanely good. So I'm sure, you know, a lot of amputees got sparked from that. But again, there's definitely probably not a lot of competition as it is like for Paralympic track. There's a lot of people flooding into that, you know, for people that are amputees, double amputees, and so it's a bigger market for sure.
Did you ever like find joy in beating people, like when you might have this so-called chip on your shoulder?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. All the time, and that's what I strive for. And it's not necessarily beating people; it's showing people that, you know, even if I didn't beat them, that, you know, I'm not gonna let you just ragdoll me around. I'm gonna put up a fight. Yeah. And I'm not gonna be walking up. You know, look, you would always look at your other opponent wrestling. You'd check them out, and you know, when other people would check me out, they'd be like, "Oh, it is easy, right?" Yeah. And then they come in, they wrestle me, and then they're like, "Oh shit, you know, this guy is not, you know." This guy is not a pushover, and that was my main goal. Is, you know, if I didn't win, I didn't want to be a pushover. That was my whole mentality when it came to wrestling.
Have you ever, with that combat background, have you ever had to use it outside of like any sort of moderated sports, like street fights or anything like that?
No, so not at all. I've always been pretty good with everybody. I've never been like a fighter, you know, when it comes to like, you know, just picking on people, but and again, I've never gotten like, thankfully, my community, I never got bullied. I was always like, in high school, I would always get like, made fun of, but that's always like with my friends, just messing around. But no, I've never had to use that in no fights or anything. And I'm sure if I had to, it'd be pretty deadly, if I could learn how to roundhouse kick with my prosthetic, that'd be freaking crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of your friends, how was making friends growing up, or what type of crowd did you hang out with? Did you hang out with athletes, or what did you guys do when you guys did hang out?
Yeah. So, I mean, growing up, I was cool with everybody. Like I have, the friends that, might be looked at as like geeks or whatever. And I have friends that, are athletically inclined, athletes and stuff like that. So, but primarily I was always with the athletes. I was always running around, and making friends was super easy. Like growing up, everybody thought I had a robot leg. I was a transformer, So it was pretty easy to conversate with kids, and I'd be like, yeah, and at the time, back to like, having a plaster prosthetic, I got to do any design I wanted. So I had Ninja Turtles on it at one point. I had flames on it at one point. So showing up to school with a different colored leg was kind of cool, and it was super easy to make friends.
That's good. Did you ever get any girl attention from that?
I mean, there's been times where I've used it to get girl attention, when I'm out or whatever, and I've met a new girl, I would always tell them a different story than what it actually is, just to like switch it up and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say initially, like, no, they weren't like, oh, I feel bad for this guy, let me go talk to him. No, it wasn't like that. But I've definitely I think the biggest part about it is just being so positive and confident, and, making a joke out of it. Because, if you are around someone that you feel like you can't laugh about it with them, it would be super awkward, right? So it's definitely an icebreaker, just going out and be like, hey, if they ask me how I, lost my leg, and I would be like, oh yeah, it was just a shark accident, when in reality it was a lawnmower accident. And so it's fun. It's fun, definitely.
I definitely feel like you've always been one of those people who's very outgoing and wanting to be like the life of the party. I remember probably like 3 or 4 years ago that you had showed up to one of our, I don't know if he's your friend. I'm not really friends with him, but he had a party in Danny B's house. And you pulled it off and poured, I don't know what drink it was. It was beer or something. Started chucking.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah,
I'm guessing that's like a staple.
Oh
and like,
yeah, dude.
So you've done that multiple times.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, multiple times, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Does that gross you out at all?
No, dude. And that's when I try to, when I tell people, they're always like, I'm like, dude, you got to do it. Check it off your bucket list, and they're like, no, it's disgusting. And I think most people think that there's a lot of sweat in there, but I have 3 layers.
That's exactly my thought. I just think that there's like sweat dripping down your leg, going in there, mixing with all the alcohol or whatever.
No. If it was like that, I would not touch it at all. But no, I have a liner that basically holds all the sweat, and then I also have like a fitting liner that like fits into my prosthetic a lot better. So it's not like my skin just pressing up against something hard. It's like soft. So I have like 2 layers before I got to go through before there's any sweat in there.
Gotcha. We were talking about some fun party moments and whatnot, and all that, but we're gonna change gears right here and start talking about, you had mentioned earlier how you started to get into bodybuilding. How did that come about?
So I mean, originally, I grew up in high school, I played sports, and the high school that we went to, it's there's a weightlifting class and stuff like that. So that's when it first started, was just weightlifting for a certain sport. And then I realized that, I could really make an impact on the world and kind of just show people kind of what it takes to, or just kind of be a motivational figure in bodybuilding. Oh, you're good. Oh, okay.
I know if that thing vibrates a lot, it'll make sound in there.
Gotcha. But yeah, so growing up in high school, there's always a weightlifting class in there, so it'd be sport specific. But then it kind of translated, while in high school, I focused a lot more on just bodybuilding, trying to get as much size as possible, try to look good. And then that ultimately translated into what I am now, trying to be more of a motivational figure in not only fitness, but just, either kids that are like me, or just, people that are going through a tough time, to show them that, hey, no matter what life throws at you, you can get through it.
So how old were you when you actually really, really started focusing on the weight room? Because I remember I think it was actually something you posted somewhat recently, was like a 1 year transformation or something like that, and it's night and day difference.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when you first started, you were posting like some physique pictures probably about a year ago or something like that. Yeah. But did the journey start before then?
Yeah.
Or is this something like really new to you?
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a little bit of both. Because, you know, I've always trained, but when it comes to training, I've never really trained how I trained except for the start of 2025. The start of 2025 was when I initially like, hey, like this is what I want to do, and I locked in, right? And so when it comes to like training in high school, I was always just looking to get a pump. Like didn't really care about my training. I just wanted to get the veins running and, you know, look good at the moment and, you know, take a picture, post on my Snapchat. Hopefully a girl will look at it. Right. That's how I kind of looked at training in that sense. But, you know, start of 2025, I was really like, hey, you know what, I'm going to like really push myself to failure, intensity, focus on all the little stuff, the stuff that really makes your physique blow up.
What was is there a specific goal with that now? Or when you started in 2025, was it just solely just to get a bigger physique, or was there something behind that? So
in start of 2025, I really wanted to take social media seriously. So that was a really good motivating factor because, you know, you gotta look the part. You know, if you're preaching what you're telling, you gotta look how you are, what you're preaching, right? And so in 2025, I did a lot of research, you know, a lot of stuff like that to really optimize my physique. And so when it comes to that, I really didn't have much information before at that, but then, you know, once I started, you know, doing research and stuff like that, I just kind of applied it.
Was there any role models or people you looked up to, specific like gym figures that you may have watched on YouTube to get some inspiration from or anything like that?
Yeah, I was a big, you know, Alex Eubank fan for sure. You know, if we're talking about inspirational figure and who I looked up to the most, definitely my dad though. You know, he instilled in me like, you know, like even when I was 13 or 14, you know, I'd always be outside. You know, we didn't have the best gym equipment, but we had you know, a punching bag, and one of my videos I posted me doing squats on it, you know, just showing people, and my dad loved posting videos of me, not only just to, you know, get attention for me, but to show people and even adults that like, hey, this is what my son's doing, like why can't you, you know, kind of thing. So I think him doing that and him posting me growing up really pushed me to what I'm doing now, because I felt like, you know, I saw the how much of an impact I made in my community, and people were always telling me like, hey dude, you're an inspiration, like keep going. And so that hearing that is such a motivating factor for me.
How much did you weigh a year ago, and how much do you weigh now?
So a year ago, I was, I think, around like 140, consistently 140. Now I'm around 165.
Back to what we were saying, you said you weighed how much now?
Oh, so yeah, I started out 145, 140-ish, kind of bouncing around, and now I'm, you know, steady 165 right now.
What do you have a goal weight? Do you want to continue to gain more? Or?
Yeah, so that's the thing. I like when people say a goal weight, it's that's kind of like, for me in my eyes, it's very pointless to have a goal weight, you know, unless you're cutting. And even when you're cutting, like, you know, that goal weight is still, you know, very irrelevant, because all you like, for most people, all you care about is how you look. So imagine, let's just say my goal weight was 190, but what if I looked like shit at 190? That doesn't make sense. So I definitely want to gain weight. You know, I definitely want to be, if I were to have a goal weight, probably like, you know, solid 185, but 185, 180 lean though, you know.
Is there someone who has a similar physique to what you're working towards, who's kind of like the same height or similar height and similar weight?
Yeah, so you know, Alex Eubank is a little taller than me, but I definitely want to kind of look like that for sure.
He's ripped.
Yeah,
and he's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of like what I want to transition into do. Like I want to, you know, and that's the thing too, is like social media and just anything in life, you figure out as you go. Like, you know, you fail, you learn, you fail, you learn. And that's kind of what I want to do. And he did a really great job of that. You know, he was one of the big influencers that, you know, blew up and figured out, you know, what works for him. And so I kind of want to do that. You know, I kind of want to like follow in his footsteps, not necessarily do exactly what he did, but I want to follow the same template. Like, you know,
I think you just can't get discouraged with social media. Like that's the biggest part for a lot of people who want to get into this game, is that they think it's going to be easy.
Yep.
They think it's going to be handed to them, or unfortunately, there's a lot of people who will have one video pop off. They'll get like 1 million
Yep.
views or something crazy,
Yep.
and then they'll be constantly chasing
Yep.
that high,
Yep.
that addiction, and some people may never get that again.
Yep.
And you don't want that to happen. It's almost worse if that happens,
Yeah.
because then you're always comparing yourself to that one video, and then you almost, if nothing else is successful, you're always going to be thinking that you're a failure, since you can't replicate that video that had the 1 million views.
Yep.
So that's something to make sure you don't ever get caught up in. But you talking about wanting to do social media, is there a goal behind that? Is that just simply to inspire people, or what exactly is your goal behind social media?
Yeah, and I'm honestly, the goal, like, so the main goal is to motivate and inspire people, but there's also that like goal of having that financial freedom, and being able to do a job on the go, not necessarily having to stay at one point, or be in a environment where I have to go to work. Like, it's just kind of natural. I make content, I inspire people, and I get paid from it. It's, I'm not all in it for the money, but the money's great. It's, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like, having that financial freedom and having that able to travel and make content on that traveling, and just basically live my life, but also getting paid to do so. Also, that's part of the game plan.
Yeah. So it does sound like a lot of it is financially motivated on top of inspiring people, which I think is going to kind of come naturally to you with just your story and your situation. I think when people see someone who's in your situation, they're going to kind of look to you as like a role model, and someone that they can look to and say, if he did it, I can.
Yep.
So I think that's something that will just come natural. But as for revenue and making money, are you solely planning on just making money just from the social medias paying you, or what's the plan there?
So I mean, the little secret behind social media is you get paid from views, clicks, and all that stuff, but the real money is brand deals, right? The real money is, hey, represent our brand and we'll pay you monthly or whatever it is. Like, for example, they do certain brand deals do, you make 50 videos in a month and you get 5K, something like that. So I definitely think that settling down with a solid brand, and being a part of basically a face of a brand is the idea. And I mean, who knows, that could also translate to me becoming, my own brand, like building up something that I want for it to be my own.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the big things with social media, and I kind of have experience with the brand deal thing, I think you should take advantage of as many income streams as possible, just so you have that consistent money coming in. Because brand deals, some do come and go. Some, like, obviously, like you said, if you got like a deal where you became like the face figure of something, that would be amazing. Opportunities like that are hard to come by, but obviously if you stay consistent, there is the chance for that to happen. I would think one thing that you should really think about is creating some sort of online coaching plan, maybe. There's just so many opportunities with that, specifically because just the transformation you have, that's already proof that you're able to take someone who has nothing and completely transform the physique and gain muscle and look the part. Like you said earlier about looking the part helps you become the person you want to become. So by doing that, I definitely think that you've already set yourself up in a great position. And I think that if you were to make some sort of offer, like a 10-week coaching plan or something like that, on top of giving someone like a cheat sheet, like a meal cheat sheet, or just like a basic workout cheat sheet, I think you could get a lot of people with that. Maybe not right now, but I think that is something you should think about, because I think you can monetize that and make a living off that faster than you expect.
Oh, for sure. And I've also thought about that. I've actually planned to get my it's NASM personal trainer, and I've already worked on my nutrition guide and kind of stuff like that, and like a basic workout plan. And so I do see myself in the future transition to kind of like that too. Not necessarily in person, but more so online, and being able to, like, hey, I get it. The idea of a trainer, a lot of people think is stupid because, like, you know, I can find this information on the internet, which you for sure can. But I think it's more of the having someone to hold you accountable, and also to have that one-on-one being like, hey, you know, I have a question that I'm not able to necessarily type directly into the internet and get a direct answer, more so than I'm able to like be like, hey, you know, I have X, Y, Z problem. What is your thoughts? And then you have initial feedback right then and there.
The discipline is huge. I feel like that is one of the key reasons that people aren't successful with doing their own thing without a mentor.
Yeah.
Because that mentor, if they're someone who really cares about their students and their clients, they're going to help keep that person on track to obtaining their goals.
Yep.
And I think by paying that person, it's endlessly worth it if you want to achieve your goals, because a lot of times it's really easy to get lost in the information.
Yep.
And like you said, all the information's out there. You're right. But it's not out there in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 step formula.
Yep.
It's, you got to find it and figure it out yourself. So you can save yourself endless amounts of time by hiring a mentor. And I think mentors are one of the ways to drastically increase your probability of success, on top of drastically decrease the time it's going to take to obtain the goals that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
So I really think that mentorship is, I would advocate for anyone to get that.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any sort of paid mentorship or paid training or anything like that?
No, nothing paid. You know, I've always, you know, for what I've done now, I've just been, you know, very just open about what I do. You know, I've always, like, if someone asks me in the gym or whatever, like, hey, you know, how do you make content? And actually I have one of my friends now that's right now getting into content, and he came out to me to ask me, like, hey, what did you do and what should I do? And I told him the basics, like, hey dude, like, just start, you know, just start, figure out what you're good at, figure out what you're bad at, and focus on what you're bad at. So nothing paid right now, but you know, obviously in the near future, definitely want to get paid for you know, the information that I have.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, paying for a mentor, like you see, like, there's trainers out there that are, you know, fat, you know, they're bigger, they're not really, you look at them and they're like, how are they personal training? And that's the people that give a bad, you know, rep or bad shade onto personal trainers, because, like, you know, like, you don't even look at the part. And that's another thing, you know, you got to look the part. Yeah.
We'll go back to that course here in a second, or the training here in a second. But you said something really important there. And what it was you said, just start.
Yeah.
And I think that's what holds people back, is they want to be perfect when they start.
Yep.
I got a story for you, bud.
Okay.
Nothing's going to be perfect.
Right.
It doesn't matter how hard you try. If your first time, if you think it's going to be perfect, oh boy,
delusional,
dude, you're in for fucking one hell of a treat, because that shit is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to content.
Yeah.
You can prep, but it's all about getting the reps in. The same thing with working out. You're not going to be able to lift 500 pounds, squat or deadlift, without getting the reps in. You think your first day going to the gym, you're going to be able to squat or deadlift or whatever 500 pounds? No, absolutely not. To obtain the goal, you have to put in the reps. So all these people, stop worrying about being perfect. You just need to start.
100%.
It's really that simple. Like you said, just start.
100%.
It's going to be shitty. There's going to be tough days. But if you start, you're one step ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
So I really think that's huge, and that's a key thing that you just said, is just start. It's really that simple.
Yep. And
so
a little add on to that is not necessarily just start too, but build a foundation, right? Because like a lot of people, let's just say, for example, going to the gym, right? You know, New Year's resolution, everybody's super hyped, super pumped, like, hey, this is going to be my year. I'm going to go to the gym. But the thing that they forget about is they're running on motivation. They're not running on discipline, right? So, you know, what I like to say is, get that motivation is almost like jumper cables, right? You want to just get a little spark, get going. But when you go and you keep on going, don't rely on motivation to keep you going, right? Because that will just, you'll burn. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline is what you fall back on when motivation runs out. And that's what I appreciate, you know, all the time, is like, you know, if you can consistently stay on something, and if you have a clear vision and you genuinely want to do something, and you built that discipline, that, like, hey, I feel like shit today, or I don't feel as good today, but you don't, that's what you want to do, and you stay on that discipline, you'll go so far in life, no matter what you do.
I promise you, there's going to be days that you're not going to wake up,
Yep.
or you're going to wake up and not be motivated.
Yep.
I can guarantee that
Yep.
right now. There's so many days where you're going to wake up and be like, fuck, I don't want to post.
Yep.
I don't want to hit the gym. I don't want to do this. I don't want to work. I don't want to do this and that. It's the discipline that's going to take you that next step and get you to where you want to go.
Yep.
So it really is. That's huge saying that.
Yep.
So
and I'm already experiencing that now. Like I'm doing a whole
I guarantee
365 days of being in front of a camera and talking. I don't know, you've probably seen it. I just go up there and talk whatever I talk, but there's been times like I'm at like 11:53, like 7 minutes until my whole challenge is going to terrible because I procrastinated or I didn't want to do it. But now I still did it. I still had that discipline to get it going.
Yeah, no, I think discipline is so huge. I mean, it's going to be the key factor to any sort of success. If you're not disciplined with what you're doing, you're not going to achieve anything.
100%. I agree. Yep.
I mean, yeah, the discipline's huge. If you're not disciplined, like I said, you're not going to achieve anything. You said you've been kind of tested lately with that social media stuff. How's that been going with like posting wise? Do you make a plan for what you're gonna post, or do you just kind of like freeball it and just go?
So I mean, I originally have like a plan. So like for whatever I have, like let's just say for example, I did chest and try today, and I had a plan to do a horizontal view instead of like a vertical view and actually talk. So I have like a very rough draft of what I'm gonna do for the day, but I don't necessarily have like a written down plan. But I definitely think writing it down would be a lot helpful because when I do make those head talking videos, I'm scrambling a lot and it takes like 30 minutes to make the video because I mess up or I talk, I just don't like the way I talk or whatever it is. So definitely writing down, it would probably be a lot helpful, but right now I'm just, basically freeballing it.
God, I know that. Anytime I've ever tried to film a video and not had a plan beforehand, it's like you said, it just takes me forever to get the words down. I'll like say the same sentence, but just slight different variations, like 10 times. And then I'll do that for the whole video. And it's really just one paragraph.
Exactly.
But it takes me an hour to read that paragraph because I'm just repeating the same shit over and over and over again. And I promise if you plan it out, that's going to be something that will drastically help you with content just because it's so time consuming. And you don't need to add any more time to what already is a very time consuming process. So I think the best way to go about creating content would be to set aside one day a week or one day a month and kind of plan out your content.
Like brain dump. For sure.
And even just like writing down, like you said, a big brain dump with just a whole bunch of goals or a whole bunch of different topics and just branching off those, and just so you have an idea and so you can look at that every day and be like, here's this, let's cross off each one of these and then go from there, just because trying to scramble for something every day, because I guarantee you right now that there's days when I tried like having a consistent schedule and I didn't plan it out, and that's what ends up causing you to stumble and fail and miss a day. Because if you had that planned out and like knew what you're gonna do, it's a lot easier to get that done. But when you don't have a plan and don't know what you're gonna do, it's a lot more likely that you're gonna forget or fail to do something, because you're like you'll be working super busy one day, but then late at night will come and you'll realize that, fuck, I forgot to post this video. What am I gonna do? And then you're like, fuck, okay, today's okay. I can miss today, and then next thing you know, you're missing tomorrow and the next day. So it's real easy. It's a slippery slope. So I would say definitely try and think of a plan and stick to it.
And something to add on to that is there has been times where I'm like, fuck, like I forgot to post today, like what am I going to post? And I would rather post a very like super shitty content than not post at all, because you gotta realize you gain momentum every time you post. No matter what it is. If you post terrible, at least you posted, right? That's why I try to tell people is like, hey, if you're really scrambling, like if it's your back's against the wall and you need to post something, post your physique with an audio over it, or some motivational text over an audio or something like that, because any sort of post is better than no post, and that's that's comes to say. But I definitely think for sure planning out and having an idea will limit that back against the wall, and you won't have that, you know, scrambling moment where you have to post shitty content.
Yeah,
you know?
it really is a mindset thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, a lot of people do say quality over quantity, which I would agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But when you're first starting out, it's just that consistency that carries the momentum. And so when you do have an off day, if you can just at least get something out, just something, it doesn't matter how bad it is, if you can carry that momentum on to the next day and get out of that slump, it's going to reward you 10 times more than not posting at all.
I agree.
With social media, what other goals do you have outside of motivating people and making money? Is there any like sort of follower goal or like goal? Do you pay attention to any of those stats whatsoever?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always, you know, look at them. You know, if I gain a follower, you know, I'm happy. There's no goal when it comes to that. Definitely, my goal is to not lose followers, if that makes sense. Like, I want to build a community where it's like, you know, reoccurring, like where they come back and they want to watch my videos. You know, that's another thing too, is like, you know, not chasing that virality. You know, you hit a big video or whatever. Let's just say you get lucky, you hit the, you know, social media lottery or whatever. You know, you get a lot, you get a good amount of followers from that, but it's how you retain those, right? You can get like over 3,000 followers. Like, for example, one of my videos blew up and I gained, you know, 3,000 followers from it. But if I didn't post similar content, or if I didn't post what that, you know, video posted, like, those followers would be gone, because they followed to keep up with my content. But if let's just say I didn't post again, then obviously they would unfollow it. It would be, you know, that.
What platforms are you currently posting on?
So right now, I'm posting on TikTok and Instagram. I do plan on posting on Facebook a little bit more. Or I haven't ever posted on Facebook, but I do plan on getting into that. And then also I do post YouTube videos, but those have been kind of slowed down because, you know, I haven't had,
it's a lot.
I haven't had a you know, the camera that I had, so I kind of just backed off from it. But I have been posting horizontally, so I do plan on getting some YouTube videos up. You know, again, you said it's a lot for sure.
Yeah. Do you have a specific follower goal for any of those platforms, or is it just kind of just as much as possible?
Yeah, I mean, basically as much as possible. But I mean, if I were to like put a goal, I have in my resolution, I do want to hit 10K on TikTok by the end of you know, 2026. I also want to hit 5K on Instagram by the end of 2026, and kind of just increase, you know, a few thousand by the end of the year, and, you know, hopefully I can get 100 followers or 100 subscribers on YouTube by the end of 2026.
I would say one way to also monetize is maybe make some. Do you know what the platform School is?
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
I would say maybe make a platform on School, or it's a little community on School, or do like a paid Discord or something, even like super cheap, like $5 a month,
right?
Or $10 a month.
Yep.
And that would be a way for people to interact with you, like one-on-one chats, or just ask you questions. You can throw in some PDFs, like just make some files of some quick, easy, free stuff to get them feeling like a part of a team, and feeling like more comfortable with you. And I feel like when you build something like that and actually build a true community, that's going to help you grow a lot. Because those people are going to feel more like family and feel like they actually know you.
100%.
So I think if you were able to maybe just look into building some sort of like platform like that, maybe even make it free to start off. And like the first 1,000 people or first 100 people get it completely free, and then after that you set it to where they pay $5, and after 1,000 then set it to $10 or something like that. And I think that would be a kind of a rewarding way to just like start getting some, like seeing like some actual results in terms of like financial or your financials, and then also in terms of like being able to really talk to people. I also think a good way to potentially grow on those social medias is to like interact with people as much as possible. I saw that you were just at some sort of like wrestling, or not wrestling, weightlifting show
Fit
or something.
Expo, the Fit Expo.
How was that?
Dude, it's super fun. And I mean, dude, I got to meet so much new cool people. You know, a funny story is, right, so I went down there all by myself. I didn't go down there with any friends. I strictly went down there because I wanted to put myself out there and talk with the people that I looked up to and get real one-on-one conversations. And funny enough, you know, while I was walking to the Fit Expo, I met these group of guys. They're all around my age, and we're all trying to find the entrance because there's a lot of construction and stuff. So it was actually cool because I ended up hanging out with them for the rest of the week. Went over to their Airbnb, hung out with them. So it was very cool to be able to meet, people like that because, I went down there all by myself, and now, I was with a group, and I had a lot more fun than I probably would have if I was just solo.
How do you go about talking to them? Did that just kind of come naturally?
Yeah, it just came naturally. Like, we were both, they're like a group of 5. And then I was, solo, and then they're like, do you know, or, I kind of went up to them. I was like, are you guys at Fit Expo? Because they had Young LA and stuff on.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And then I was like, yeah, me too. I'm going to stick with you guys, kind of thing. And, kicked off, asked about my leg, stuff like that. So, it was very natural.
Where was the event at?
LA.
LA, okay.
Yep.
How was that your first time flying, or?
No, not flying. I flew, countless times, but definitely first time in California. And
was that your first
LA.
time traveling by yourself?
No.
Somewhere?
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Where else have you gone?
I've gone to Florida. I've gone to Texas. I've gone to Arizona. I've gone to Massachusetts.
Damn, you've gone to all these places by yourself?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Doing what?
So again, like with the kids camp, I grew. When I was like 13 or 14, or actually when I was like I think 15, I was able to travel. So they my parents buy my plane ticket, and then I would go to those kids camps by myself because the people that I was around, they I grew up with them, so like it was my parents trusted them fully, and it was monitored, so so that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So is this like your first time traveling alone in like your adult life then?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then do you think those people you met, are those going to be like friends that you still talk to?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, we have a group chat and everything. We always talk about it. We always talk about future trips, and I hit them up every time. They post on social media as well. So just having them and me following them, I could keep up with them. And
what was your favorite experience from that whole trip?
Dude, just that whole so the whole trip itself, it was actually funny because, again, this is my first time, not first time flying, but first time planning everything. So, I had to buy the ticket for the venue. I had to buy, a hotel and all this stuff. And, it's not my favorite, but it's the most funniest. And I booked my own hotel, and I actually didn't even book a hotel. I booked a hostel. And so, yeah. So, yeah,
I didn't even know they had those in the U.S.
Yeah, they have them, and it's actually a lot more common than not because.
Oh, so you were sleeping with like other people in the same room? Or
yeah,
what?
so that's what I was having to do, but then, I kind of thought quick on my feet, and I noticed that they didn't have a bench in there for showering, and I'm able to shower without a bench, for the record, but I used that to get a refund and get out of there because I didn't know. So yeah,
I mean, it was probably pretty cheap though, right? Like $50 to $50 a night.
Yeah,
less than
that's
that or
why
something.
I bought it because I was like, oh shit, it's cheap,
Did you go there though and check it out at first?
Yeah, so she handed me the key and she says, "Are you fine with the top bunk?" And I go, I'm not thinking about it. I'm tired. I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm fine with it. And then I get up to my room. It smells like shit in there. It's just, I see other people sleeping. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And so at first I was like, hey, I can't get up to the top bunk. Like, I have a disability. I can't. And then she was like, okay, we'll put you in a bottom bunk, but only with 4 people. And so I was like, okay, cool. And so I went there, bottom bunk, and then I was like, I'm not staying here, dude. I'm just not doing it. So I looked in the bathroom. They didn't have a bench, and so I used that. And
so where do you end up staying?
I had another hotel. It was,
okay.
Yeah, it was it was a sketchy hotel, but, I got my own room. I got my own shower, and so it was fine.
I saw you met a few influencers.
Yeah.
Was there any interaction that stood out, or?
Yep.
Yeah, how was that? How were the people you met?
Yeah, so there's actually a few. So, I'll get to the last one because the last one I really want to elaborate on. But so I met Jake Cutler, a huge bodybuilder, massive dude, and especially even now, as he got older. But in his prime, it was unreal. He actually ended up, I don't know if the camera can see it, but got a little signature on my leg. So I got Jake Cutler inside my leg, Lee Priest signed my leg, and I actually really love those conversations because they were genuinely not concerned, but they wanted to know what happened, and they wanted to know how I train now and stuff like that. So I got a really good conversation with all really good bodybuilders. So I met those two. I met the Lukey MC. I don't know if you know him. He's kind of a niche kind of guy. He's pretty funny. And then Luke Ellsman, which I'm actually wearing his shirt right now. And then my favorite, obviously because I went there for one goal, Oh, actually, not my favorite. The Sam Sulek I met as well.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, he's huge. He's
Massive.
huge. He had a freaking pump cover on, and he was still like just wide.
Yeah.
So I met him. He signed my leg as well. And then my favorite, the Trent twins, both of them, Manic Mike and Chris Trent.
Mm-hmm.
I went up to them, and their original line was long, like 4 hours long, and that's if you just paid for general admission. Hey, here's my ticket. You would have to wait in their line for 4 hours. But I ended up, because I knew I wanted to go in there with an intention of, asking him a certain thing. So I was like, okay, I got to make sure I talk to this guy or talk to these two. So I paid for the extra money, paid for the VIP pass. So they ended up going to this little area where it's a lot less people and you're actually able to have a one-on-one conversation instead of it being like 30 seconds and you're gone. So I went up, I was really nervous. I was super nervous because, I was almost stumbling on my words. And so I went up to him. I was like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. I was telling him that, at the event, I actually drank out of my leg to do a little promo for this energy drink. And so I was like, hey, I drank out of my leg. And then I ended up asking him, like, hey, what would it take to get signed by their supplement company, Feral Supplement? And, he basically said, like, hey, I don't really know. Like, he was just kind of thinking in his head because for what nobody will ever know what's a good goal for somebody with a disability to hit. And then I was like, hey, what if I hit 500 pounds by the end of the year on deadlift? And then he goes, we could do something. So it definitely gave me a sense of hope and definitely a sense of, because he ended up following me on Instagram, which was crazy. I never thought I would ever get followed by one of my favorite YouTubers or anything ever in my life. So it was pretty cool. Had a really good conversation with him, signed my leg, and now I'm just chasing after that 500-pound deadlift to see what kind of deal he had for me.
Yeah. And what are you currently at?
So, okay, I right now I'm currently at 435. But my PR, and this is when I was prime, like deadlifting every week and really focusing on strength training, I got up to 465. So, 45 pounds away is not, it's not too much, but it's also like by the end of the year, I should be able to do that. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, muscle memory kicks in easy, and
you got to make sure you record that shit when you do.
100%, dude. I'm recording every session. You never know.
How often are you gonna try and max out?
So I have a plan. Every 4 to 8 weeks, more so 6 weeks is kind of the sweet spot. That's when you should max out on any lift, right? You should not max out
multiple times in the same month or something like that.
No, not
That's
at
terrible
all.
for
It's
you.
terrible. And not only is it terrible for you, it's just terrible for your joints. And you're not giving yourself enough time to grow. And so what I like to do is for the first 2 weeks, I do really heavy, like maybe max reps 5. And then the next 2 weeks I do a lot of conditioning. So I do max rep maybe like 6 or 7, somewhere in that range. So I literally like go back and forth with that.
Keep talking, you're good.
Oh yeah, you're good. And then, I'll tend to basically just kind of jump around with that. And then every 8 weeks or so, I'll work up to a max.
So what were your maxes in all your lifts?
So when I did max out and I was at my prime peak, whatever, my bench 275, for squat I was at 365, my deadlift again 465.
How do you, like, with maxing out, you said like 6 to 8 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks,
Yep.
or what was it?
6 to 8, yep.
Gotcha. And do you ever have any, like, have you noticed any pain after that for a while? Or
No,
do you
no.
lift after maxing, or?
Yeah. So I still end up doing the workout that I was going to do. So, for example, deadlift, I would do the rest of my back workout. But definitely the recovery part is definitely the most important just because you're putting a lot of strain. So you don't want to do too crazy of a workout after that. You kind of just want to go through the motions and, do the work that you're supposed to do. And then, again, it's just for one day, right? So the next time you do back, you're going hard on other muscle groups. But, yeah, definitely taking that little kind of rest, not necessarily rest, but definitely being a lot easier on your back, just because what the worst that can happen is, you're tweaking your back. And you're out for a couple of weeks. You don't want that. Going through the motions and you maybe not having a more productive workout is better than, tweaking your back and being out
For sure.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those people who take bodybuilding seriously when they're older are fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I forget his name, but it's a bigger.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
Yep.
Huge, dude. And he's like can barely walk
Yeah,
now.
I
Has to
actually
use like those stilts.
Yeah,
Was he there or something?
I saw him at the Fit Expo, and he was in his little wheelie. Like he had a little cart where he was able to wheel himself. So yeah, I mean, but that's steroids. That's anabolic.
Steroids will break your body down.
Yes, 100%.
I mean, I also don't know about Tren either, though.
Right. No, I mean, don't do any of that.
Do you you said earlier that you really want to like increase your physique and want to get as like cut as possible. Have you looked into like looksmaxxing at all?
Right, like peptides? Is that what yeah.
Well, not necessarily peptides, but just like do you know who Clavicular is?
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Yeah, he's okay. I will say his transformation was crazy. Right, I totally get his transformation. Yeah, his transformation is crazy. You know, the amount of research chemical he's put in his body. You know, I'm glad, but I mean, at the same time, I definitely think his how I guess strict he is when it comes to it is very in my opinion is like it's just unnecessary. You know, like for the PSL scale, for example, like I just think that like there's a big community, and I think the community that he has built is very toxic, I guess. Yeah. But it's not like if you're soft, and you take it the wrong way, like but you shouldn't have let.
I think a lot of that, like the whole looksmaxxing community, I mean, his transformation is fucking outstanding. Yeah. Like no homo, but he's a good looking dude
for
now.
Sure.
But it is very unhealthy, I feel like, because like if you're constantly only focused on like improving the way you look, I feel like that's an extreme insecurity. Yeah. But I get his
idea.
His mindset behind it and the reasoning why, because he says that the more attractive you are and the better you look, the more attractive and better everything around you is going to be. So you're going to have better opportunities. You're going to have more money, more experiences, more everything, pretty much. Which I actually do fundamentally agree with that for the most part. But I think obsessing over your looks, like there's something where he punctures himself with a hammer, bone mashing, dude, to define your jaw and all these surgeries. And he said he started taking testosterone at like 16 years old. Dude. It's like, dude, that is some unproven shit. Yeah, I mean, he looks great, right? Hands down, looks great, but that is scary.
No, and you said it perfectly. Like obsessing over it is a little too much, but like. Care about how you look. Care about it. Like
I think how you look is huge. I mean, I think it's really important to stay healthy and work out and be conscious of your health.
And again, like the people, like there's obviously like the body positivity companies and stuff like that, where they they include people that don't look necessarily attractive into their face of the company, but most companies want people to be generally attractive, genuinely appealing to look at. And that's the whole thing is like you're gonna get those opportunities if you're in shape or you have a good face, I guess. But I just think that get to like what you can as you are naturally. Just optimize that as much as possible. I wouldn't necessarily try to genetically modify how you look by bone mashing or whatever. Dude, I don't think I would ever do that. But
they're hitting yourself in the face with a hammer. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get the idea, but that's a little too much.
No, that's insane. Yeah. Can you imagine just sitting there in the mirror hitting yourself with a hammer? Yeah,
and like the whole thing is like the mogging and all this shit. Like it's just it's a joke. Like if you go out of your way to say that you mog someone, like dude, like okay.
Have you looked into peptides at all? Because I know you said something about that earlier.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I honestly
interesting.
I definitely wouldn't say that it's a complete cheat code. I would not rule it out of someone that wants to optimize how they live. I would not say that if you were to take it. Obviously, I think there's some peptides.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but I would say peptides are in a completely different category than steroids or tren or anything like that, or testosterone. It's like peptides are a protein that can enhance and help you in certain areas. There's like a peptide for pretty much anything. There's peptides for better sleep, for more energy, for bone health, for injury recovery, for definition, for literally anything you can think of. There's a peptide for. The problem with peptides is they're just not researched a lot right now. People worry about it not being FDA approved right now. I don't really think that's a big deal. Right. I think actually having it FDA approved, I mean, it would be beneficiary for like hospitals and stuff, but that's also the negative part for everyone else, because then it becomes almost inaccessible with how expensive it is. Right now it's a little sketchy because it's all a lot of it's black market stuff. There's some peptides that are FDA approved, but a lot of it is black market, or just random people, and you got to make sure that you're getting clean doses and not stuff that's dirty. So that is one thing to look for, but I do think peptides in general, there's a lot of doctors and researchers who have found a lot of positive traits. I think it's very, very new still, so there's a lot of, or not a lot of research of what it has in the long term, but I think as of right now, there's a lot of benefits that we can see. That there might be some stuff that we don't know yet, but I think anyone who's wanting to do peptides or interested in that, I definitely think it's worth looking into. I don't currently do it or anything, but that's something I've actually been diving into. I have a buddy who lives down in Texas, so actually does them now. So,
for sure.
Speaking of Texas, you said you're going to move there?
Yep. I plan to move to Austin next, I want to say April, but it's all dependent on
like April in a couple months. Oh shit.
So I do plan on moving pretty soon, but again, it's all dependent on my financial situation that I got, but that is the plan. I do plan on moving down there just because it's a lot more opportunity, a lot more connections I can make, a lot more content ideas I can make. You know how Wenatchee is. It's stupid.
Very minimal. Me and my girlfriend are always talking about like, dude, what are we gonna do today? Like, it's so boring. What can I do? So it's definitely down somewhere in a big city. And Austin, I feel like, is a great place. It's not, I mean, it's probably going to be expensive, but it's not going to be as expensive as like LA or somewhere like that.
And believe it or not, it's more cheaper there than here. And that
Washington State's fucking crazy.
I saw like an article or whatever, because I was open to moving anywhere. It wasn't just, I want to go to Austin, Texas. Like, I looked into Arizona and other spots, but Austin being the cheaper and me being young, like, and again, right now I'm not making any revenue on my content. So it's like, I got to play my cards right. So like, Washington is like the third worst country, the cost of living, or state.
I definitely think it's worth getting out when you're young. Going and experiencing life in other places, because you're never going to have that time back.
No.
So I think if you can and you're able, go and explore and go and see what else the world has to offer, because it's not just Wenatchee. It's not just this small little town. So I've tried to travel and experience as much as I can, because I know how beneficial that is. And you only live one life, from what we know. So might as well make the most of it and create as many memorable experiences as possible, 100%. Because you don't know what day, when you're going to die, what day can be your last day. Literally could be tomorrow. So I think it's very important to try to make the most out of every day that you have on this earth.
And what people don't realize is that at one point or another, if you really want to be great, you have to go all in at least once in your life. And I would rather go all in young, and when I don't have a wife, or I don't have kids, or if I don't have a girlfriend or whatever, I would rather go all in now, because then I have less factors and less variables to worry about.
Now's the time.
Now's the time. And that's another thing you said, great too, is like, we only have one life, and not necessarily making, it's great making memories and stuff, but a lot of people tend to be so hard on themselves because they're not where they're at, or they're worried about what other people think. But why would you spend your time worrying about what other people think when this is your only lifetime? And like, if people tend to forget that this is it, like, this, what we're experiencing right now is the only time we're going to experience it, so, and that's one thing that I try to preach is, make the most of your life and don't stress about what other people think. Do what makes you happy and do what you love, just because, it's your life, who cares, right?
It literally doesn't matter what people say.
I know.
Like, dude, someone you see out in public, if someone clowns on you, some random person, when are you ever going to see them again?
Right,
Also, this same person that may clown on you, it might last for 5 minutes or whatever. This person is not going to remember you tomorrow. This person who sees you in public, who like has like a thought like, wow, that guy's fucking weird. Dude, they're not going to think about you ever again.
No.
Like, it literally doesn't matter. None of this fucking matters, dude.
Yep.
So go out and do the things you want to do, as long as you're not fucking killing someone or doing like illegal activities. I think you should go and chase your dreams.
100%.
Go and aspire to be great. Aspire to be the best person you can, because what else are you going to do?
Right, exactly. I agree.
So, I mean, I really think it's what you're doing and what your goals are honorable, and I think they're good things to work towards. Because I mean, what else would you be doing?
Exactly. And another thing too is everybody's gonna call you a fool or crazy or you're stupid or your goals are not realistic until they actually work out. You know, everybody's always gonna have something to say unless you're succeeding, right? And even when you are succeeding, people are always gonna try to tell you
100%.
what to do and what not to do. Even though you are doing really good, they're always gonna have something to say. Anybody's gonna
win or lose. People will always try to tear you down.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. There's a guy named Alex Hermosi. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a big gym guy, and he also is a huge business guy. And when he was first starting his gym, he would have all this support from multiple people, multiple customers. Like, look at you go. Like, keep going, man. This is awesome. You're really making your dreams come true. And keep in mind, he was sleeping on his gym floor because he couldn't afford rent. And then he started opening more businesses and opening more gyms or whatever, and started actually creating a life for himself. And those same people would show up to his gym and be like, "Oh, hopefully you're not too good for us now.
Yeah.
Hopefully," like, and start kind of like being negative towards him and talking down on him almost. Like, "Oh, look at you now, Alex. Like hopefully, hopefully you're not too good." It's like, well, I achieved the thing you said you wanted for me.
Yeah.
And now you're clowning on me for it.
Yeah. Now you're expecting something. Yep.
People want to see you achieve your things as long as you don't outperform them.
Yep.
People want the best for you as long as it's not better for them.
Yep.
And that's always how it's been.
Yep.
And it's sad. It really is sad because it's not often that you find people who genuinely want the best for you.
Yeah. No, it's very hard.
So I think when you do find those people,
hold them tight,
like you said, and find a good community of people that will support you, and not people that are gonna make subtle remarks that try to tear you down or anything.
Yep.
So I mean, because we all have those people in our life who you love or who are still friends who will make subtle remarks or something and like kind of clown you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And there's some truth behind every joke. So I think it's important to pay attention to stuff like that because your best friend may also be your biggest enemy.
For sure.
So without even knowing it, like this person may say they support you right now, but they're also like making subtle jokes hinting at like what's to come.
Yeah.
So be very wary with people, especially when you're chasing your dreams.
I think that, and what you said, and not necessarily like, you know, I think just being aware of that, you know, there is always some truth behind every joke. And I think you said it perfectly. And I totally agree with that.
So we're coming close on wrapping this episode up, but there's a few more things I wanted to hit real quick. And one of them was you a couple years ago. It's something I wanted to talk about. Almost, I want to say made the Olympics or something like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a cool situation. I don't really know the details. That's why I wanted to discuss it.
Yeah.
And just kind of walk us through that whole situation and what happened.
Yeah. So originally I was a baseball guy growing up, you know, in the spring, it would be either baseball or track. So, you know, growing up in high school, I did baseball all year and then, ended up quitting my junior year. And so, my junior year, my coaches were always bugging me like, hey, get out to track. You know, there's a certain, group, it's called the ambulatory track. And so I would automatically go to state. No matter how bad or well I did in track, I would automatically go to state and compete in state against other ambulatory athletes. And so I didn't do it my junior year, but I ended up doing it my senior year because I'm like, you know what, let's do it. You know, everybody's telling me to do it. It's my last year in high school, might as well. And so, you know, I did track. I was actually pretty good at it. You know, first track meet I ever did, I was close to the state record for ambulatory in the 100 meter, just first track meet, just from my raw athletic, you know, my athletic background.
Yeah.
And then so coming up to state, I ended up competing in state. You know, the 100 meter, I ended up getting first place and also setting a state record. And it's actually still there if you search it up, WA4A, you know, high school, and then you go to para athletes and you'll see my name, Neiko Wellborn. And then so I actually did that, and then I ended up doing the 200, which I actually fell literally like 0.004th of a second behind the guy in second. So I fell behind there, and then you know, did the 400, also got second, and then did the javelin, which I also have a state record in that as well. So a few months after that, I got reached out by, her name's Teresa Skinner. She she and her husband have a group called Parasport Spokane, and so they reached out to me because they are monitoring Washington's kind of para athletes.
Yeah.
So they reached out to me like, "Hey, Neiko, you reached the benchmark to go try out for the Paralympics in Paris." And so I was like, I read it. I was like, shit, I gotta go tell my dad. I ran upstairs, told my dad, got in contact with them, and then ended up basically flying out with them to Florida. I think it was Miramar, Florida, and ended up competing in the Paralympic trials.
And how'd that go?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I ended up doing okay for what I was. And I think I did end up making the benchmark to go to Paris. But unfortunately, with the Team USA and their guidelines, you have to do like a whole year of like PED testing and drug screening and stuff like that. So I wasn't, planning on it was just basically
a last minute thing.
Yeah, it was basically like, hey, you know what, go compete and go try it out, go have fun, pretty much. So I did pretty good, and then after that, I ended up moving over to Spokane to continue with that. Unfortunately, I fell out of love with it, and I didn't at the time. I was looking into being an electrician, and so I was kind of weighing out my options. I'm like, okay, do I want to spend the 4 years of my life potentially chasing after something that I don't even really love right now, and maybe in the future loving it, or do I want to focus more on my career, and basically just going for being an electrician? And so I ended up choosing the electrician side, moving back home. But that experience is something I'll never forget. It was so much fun, being competitive in that sense of potentially going to the Paralympics. But for sure, it was definitely a moments that I will remember forever. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You're still staying in athletics. Is there a chance that you try again in 2027? Like, try getting that year in?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, honestly. I've kind of put I kind of buried that hatch. Not necessarily because I just it's just the training and the body it's a lot of work.
The dedication you have to put towards becoming an
you got to go. Yeah, you got to go all in. And not only that, like the workouts that they had me doing was it was really, 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 really hard. It was a lot of balancing work, and also the rehabilitation on that was a lot. Like I would always have to ice my calf and do all that stuff. So it's definitely just a lot. And I'm just thinking long term. I definitely feel a lot better bodybuilding and strength lifting than I did, running on a track and stuff like that, because it would throw my hips off. My hips would go all over the place. So I was mainly looking for the future, but I did, when I first stopped doing it, I definitely had that thought of like, I should probably, and then but yeah, I definitely don't think that will be a chance.
So you also said something about your first sports passion was baseball.
Yeah.
I also just saw you recently posting about something with the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
What was all that?
Yeah, so I got to go down to Florida.
All right, so you were talking about going down to Florida.
Yep. So yeah, like I said earlier, I had a full circle moment with the USA Patriots. That's what they're called. The guys that ran the kids camp and stuff like that. They were other known as Wounded Warriors. So they basically are a softball team, consists of military veterans that lost their leg during service or maybe shortly after, and then they slowly transitioned to the kind of USA Patriots. And they also picked up some of the younger guys that maybe not did the military or anything, but still, lost a limb or, was born without a limb or something like that, just to, have a more of a diverse group. So I went down with them originally to, basically do their spring training, because they do like a whole basically season. So they travel all across the country, playing softball against, other teams, doing fundraisers for the kids camp. So they fully fund the kids camp. But yeah, so we were able to actually end up training with some of the AA, AAA, and even some of the pro guys for the Detroit Tigers, and got to basically do like a whole day with them, training, eating with them, hitting in the batting cages, hitting against their. Dude, they have like a machine that's like $60,000 in there, and it's like it mirrors any MLB pitcher in the whole MLB, and it will show you like their exact pitches and stuff like that. So I got to hit against that.
That's crazy.
It was pretty cool. I mean, I haven't seen anything above 90 mile per hour, and I was able to hit off of like 94. So it's pretty cool.
I heard you say something about you couldn't touch the slider though,
Yeah,
or something
dude, the
like
slider
that.
was insane, dude. I couldn't even read it. Like you could literally throw your bat out to where exactly what it will be, but like that break and that like velocity is just you can't see it.
It's insane.
Yeah.
To be MLB is just the level you have to be at to make it to the actual pros.
Yep.
It is insane. People
Yep.
don't understand. I think
No.
hitting a baseball is the hardest thing in any
Dude.
athletics.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
You can get any other athlete and try and tell them to hit a baseball.
Dude.
You're not someone who's never swung a bat. Like you're getting an NBA player.
Yeah.
You're not getting.
No.
You're not batting 300
No.
or even
You're
being
not even
remotely.
close.
Yeah. You're not hitting off a 100-mile-per-hour pitch.
No, absolutely not.
It's like Michael Jordan was one of the best athletes of all time.
Yeah.
And he tried making it to the MLB and had no success whatsoever. I mean, he made it to the minors,
cool,
but I mean, good experience and stuff. But we're talking about one of the primetime athletes of all time, and he couldn't even be successful.
And that's it. So. That's just the thing is like, hitting a fastball is one thing. It's like if you have a baseball background, after enough tries, you will end up hitting it. Maybe not good, but you'll hit it. Mm-hmm. But that's just flat. But now you got curveballs, now you got sinkers, now you got sliders, all this other stuff. So it's like baseball is one of those things where it's like it's literally like so hard to be great at. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where it's like if you have a 400 batting average, that means you hit out of 10 times you were able to get on base 4 out of those 10 times. You're considered
That's
great.
Insane. That's like the best ever.
Yeah, exactly. You're considered like insane. And
at the MLB level, if you get 3 out of 10 times, you're a
like
great player.
Yeah. So that just puts in perspective. But again, it was fun. I was able to hit that fastball a little bit, but that slider, no way. I'm not touching that thing at all.
Yeah, no. Sports are a beautiful thing.
No, 100%.
I think without sports, my life would be drastically different.
Oh yeah.
Like it's played a vital impact on my life, and so just talking about sports in general, it's like it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
and with baseball, especially because that was the first sport that I fell in love with too. I hate how much flack it gets. Like it just there's so many people who shit on baseball saying it's not fun and boring and there's no skill involved. And I'm like, you have no idea.
Just pick up a bat, try to throw a ball, all that stuff. Like you do it,
Like also with like baseball and stuff, like there's defensive schemes and stuff. Like for certain batters, like that hit in certain areas, you can shift your defense and all like the different call outs and stuff you have to make. There's actually so much that goes into it that people don't realize.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's just such a beauty in baseball. Yeah. I've always had a soft spot for it.
Too,
and I hate how much people hate on it.
Yeah, so, it is ridiculous. Yeah, I agree.
To kind of wrap everything up, I want you to take a moment and think about this next question. If there was someone who recently or in the past has gone through something similar to what you have injury-wise and been through some hardship and maybe struggling right now with what they're dealing with, it doesn't matter what age they are, whether they're a little kid, a teenager, a grown person, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What would your message be to that person?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the message that I would want to put out is that, one, and it's not just necessarily for, what I have or something similar. If someone's going through something similar, it's not necessarily just for that. But again, mentally or anything, it's just you're not alone, right? There's other people going through the same stuff as you. And even if they're not going through the same stuff as you, they're still fighting something that not a lot of people talk about. And I just want to put that out there because it's super important. Growing up, I was very isolated. I was just, similar. I was just who I was. But I had a great community around me. My parents basically told me that I had no excuse. And that's one thing that I also want to touch on is don't use that as an excuse. I would hate to see you not try, because the moment that you don't try, the moment that you failed yourself, you having that disability, I like to say disability because, I have a disability. I'm considered disabled under the government, but I still want to achieve great things. I still don't use that as a disability. So I definitely think that, knowing that you're not alone and knowing that, to not use your situation as a opt-out to not do something. Just try to focus on not doing that, because that's one thing that's going to kill you, and you'll soon realize that once you stop making excuses and you stop using that victim card, that your life gets 100 times better.
I agree. I think your story is truly inspiring. I think the path that you're heading towards is a good one. All your goals, I love that you're getting into content. I think the social media thing is awesome. I love, if I could tell all my friends, all the people I care about, I think social media is great.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like, you don't even need to try necessarily become famous.
Yeah.
I think it's good to just build your social skills, be able to talk on camera, be able to talk in general, because today we are so wrapped up in social media and scrolling and everything.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, I'd rather have you create the content than consume the content. Because creating, at least you get to express some form of art and creativity. And I think the world lacks that now. So I'd love to hear that you're doing that and going down that path.
100%.
And I just think that's awesome. I think everyone should do that, because the way we communicate now is so shitty. Like,
I agree.
If you've heard any of the kids nowadays and stuff, it's gonna be rough, because they don't want to talk or ask for food at restaurants. No one has the courage, and I think that's one of your positive traits, actually, is you've been a very good communicator. You've been the light of a party. You have that experience, and I think you should use that for yourself and for others, because I mean, I think it's a great trait to have.
100%.
Neiko Wellborn, everyone, thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it has been. Appreciate it.
Gonna get like a little vlog style real quick.
Oh yeah.
So this is his leg that he just got autographed.
Beauty. Trent twins right there. You know, some other. Sam Stulix is actually kind of getting scraped off, but you know, they'll all end up getting gone. But yeah, that's the beauty of the leg, and you know, the calf.
Oh yeah.
Y'all don't know, you know, the right calf got mangled up too, so yeah, that's
crazy,
what I'm dealing with. Yep.
Crazy.